curious to get your thoughts on like scaling customer experiences. So you've talked about going from, a smaller firm to a large firm. You guys are processing a lot of cases. You're working with a lot of customers. How do you think about the balance between, efficiency and automations and trying to sort of eke out gains and become more efficient as a firm, but balancing that with maintaining or even make an even greater customer experience? Because sometimes those things can be at odds with each other. I'm just curious how you think about balancing that or making sure as you add more efficiency, you're still having that great customer experience.
I think they're complementary because clients demand efficiency. So if it takes us longer to do even the simplest things, for example, we need client documents. If they send it to us, but we're inefficient in processing it, we're taking longer, they get frustrated. They'll call and say, "Did you get the documents?" You don't want to say, "I don't know, let me check." You want to be able to do that efficiently. So you could say, "We have it." If it's missing something, you could communicate what you're missing. If it's everything you need, you could say, "This is great. We'll now have these analyzed." The other thing is when you're a very small firm, you could remember a heck of a lot. And as you have more and more cases, you aren't remembering things. And efficiency is also accuracy. Is the information being accurately logged? So when you look at it in the future, you know exactly what happened. You don't have to memorize the stuff. You have more people looking at it. So they need to know what is going on, because you also don't want to call the client for the fourth time asking the same questions. That might have to happen to a certain degree just to make sure what you have is accurate. Like if you go to the doctor, they might ask you about medications just to make sure they have the right information. But if you keep coming back and saying, "Did you send us the document?" "Yeah, I sent it to you 2 weeks ago." That is going to frustrate them. So efficiency to me should enhance the customer experience. I also think in terms of messages, if you want to automate it, that's great, but it should come from someone's personal line. So if the client responds with a question, it's still going to a human being who has responsibility to communicate. That to me is how we set things up, because they do need to have a person with a name and a voice who they could talk to. Just because it makes sense to us, they might still have follow-up questions, or they're anxious, or they might just need to talk to us because their car is having more problems and they can't really afford the problems, so they need someone to talk to. So it should always have a personal aspect to it, even in efficiencies.